Hello, I'm Jason O'Gorman. I'm an artist and a designer, but more importantly, I'm from Cork. Well, I'm from Cork. Did I mention that already? I also love drawing. Ever since I was a kid, it's all I ever really wanted to do. So as soon as I finished my leaving cert, I got a job as a graphic designer in a studio in Cork. There was no computers at the time, so I was hand drawing everything, posters for nightclubs and gigs and events and so on. It was my ability to draw that actually landed me my first job as a graphic designer, and that in turn led to a pretty extensive career over 20 years working for different design agencies around the city. A few years back I set up my own company called Dynamite Studio, which was a terrifying decision for a guy who had no formal training, but ultimately it was probably the most rewarding decision I've ever made in my adult life. Throughout those 20 odd years working as a graphic designer, the technology literally exploded, which made life really convenient as a graphic designer, but this amazing technological evolution also impacted how I worked. So what I started artistically had slowly changed to me pushing buttons on a computer, and I was drawing a lot less. Don't get me wrong, I really love the graphic design. It's about solving problems, and I love that, and visualising stuff for other people, but I also had my own stuff I wanted to visualise, and I also wanted to draw a little bit more, so I set up jasonogorman.ie. From now on, let's just call it Jog. Jog is an online store where I sell prints of my digital illustrations. It started as a little side project, a bit of space I carved out which enabled me to visualise and solidify my own ideas through both design and illustration. It's like a little playground really, where I can just have a bit of crack and run free without having to negotiate the budgets or deadlines or politics that come with design work. I also like to tap into people's sense of familiarity and nostalgia with my work. My own personality is pretty sarcastic and humorous, and that shines through in a lot of my stuff. My drawings can be pretty artistic and intricate, and look, I have to be honest, they can also be very silly. Jog is essentially a mix of illustration and design with a good dose of my own personality thrown in, and it's hung on people's walls. And what I actually love most about the whole thing is that it's not just about making pretty pictures, but my work has a positive emotional impact on people. It makes them proud to be from Cork, and that in turn makes me really happy. The COVID pandemic has been transformative for many people over the last year, especially myself, where I experienced some downturn in the amount of design work I was doing, but it meant I had more time to be creative and explore my own stuff. If you're not familiar with my work, there's a pretty strong theme running through everything: Cork. I use Cork as a constraint to keep my work focused and on a particular theme, because there's nothing worse than a blank canvas. Cork is also something I know and I love, it's something I'm familiar with, and if you're starting to draw anything, it's best to start with what you know. So I started drawing Cork things, initially just a few iconic buildings, Shandon and the Shaky Bridge and so on, but Cork is way more than just pretty pictures. Cork is alive, it's bursting with its own unique character and culture. Us Corkonians we're like the proudest people in the world, and I have fallen in love with the way we view the rest of the world, not Cork, and our unquestionable sense of self-importance. I like to weave that into my work. When you have a piece of artwork on your wall like that has a sense of smugness about it, like it's a pure massive privilege to be from Cork. I love that. Well, I work at home, like most people do these days. I'm very fortunate that I have a little studio space here at the end of my back garden, which is half the shed, away from all the noise. When I started drawing again, I started using the programs that I was familiar with. They would be the industry standard programs for graphic designers, Photoshop and Illustrator. And I do my drawing on this device here called a Cintiq Pro, which is pretty much like a large screen, and I draw directly into it using a digital pen. The advantages this has over real world drawing is a really cool feature called Undo. I also use different apps on my iPad with an Apple Pencil. I use some apps called Procreate, Affinity Designer, Fresco, Photoshop and Illustrator are on there, and a couple of others. And within the last year I found myself using the iPad an awful lot more and the Cintiq a lot less. I think you have to kind of really sit down in front of the Cintiq, but with the iPad you can go pretty much anywhere. either around the house or out and about. And mobility is really important for me. It's great for generating new ideas. Ideas are all around us, but you need to have an open mind, and you need to be constantly looking for them and listening for them. Ideas seldom come as finished, formed pieces. They come in fragments, and you have to collect them. So I'm always writing down ideas here in my notebooks. It's just collecting all those broken pieces until one day you're kind of presented with that final piece of that puzzle that you've been building the whole time, that kind of light bulb eureka moment. I'm inspired by the things around me, and I like making associations by combining things that are already familiar in a different, unfamiliar way. That can lead to some really interesting ideas. I'd say quite a lot of my work is based on the things that we're familiar with, but shown in an entirely new light. So I like ideas to be simple and self-explanatory. I also like to simplify things and break down complicated subjects, distilling them down into their most fundamental states. Because by simplifying and redefining things, we often create a completely new way of understanding them. To have good ideas, you need to have lots of ideas and throw away the bad ones. And to have lots of ideas, I think it helps to be more creative. Creativity is not some sort of divine gift. It's something we all possess, and it's not one thing, but it's a combination of things. Creativity requires work. Sorry lads, but you have to actually sit down and put in a lot of thought and focused effort on a particular subject or constraint. In my case, let's call it Cork. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to really focus in on that and just think lots on it, make lots of stuff on it, and take lots of notes on it. Creativity requires play. If you want to think outside the box, you have to throw away the rule book, and you have to have a bit of fun, and you need to have a bit of crack, and you need to be silly, and don't be afraid of being silly. You also need to expose yourself to different things. Pick up a book on snake charming. Look, you're never going to actually go and charm snakes after, but you might be surprised. There might be something you'll just take away from that book. In order to think differently, you need to learn differently. Because if you keep thinking along the same lines, you're always going to arrive at the same conclusions. Creativity requires rest, my favourite part. After all that hard work and thinking outside the box, you need to just stop. Come away from everything, switch off your brain, go for a walk, look out the window and have a daydream. Because the magic happens somewhere in the back of your head, and the ideas will come, not when you're actively looking for them, but when you're not looking for them at all, ideas. So basically, put in the hard work, learn weird stuff, and then don't do anything. I think my art and my ideas are byproducts of creativity. Someone recently asked me, what's your long-term goal as a visual artist? And that really tripped me up, because I don't have a game plan. I'm very much doing this from project to project, having a bit of fun here, doing a little bit of that, have a bit of crack doing that, and that's it. It's just carry on down that road, making stuff, enjoying myself, and just see what happens. I hope this video has given you guys an insight into what it is that I do. So thanks a million for watching it, and thanks so much for all your support.